Hello, everybody, and welcome back after an insane game right there. It looks like I'm not even on screen right there. There we go. Now we're back. I was so ashamed of as a CLG fan on the broadcast, but now turning into a TSM Academy fan because what a way to win that game. I know. That's heresy that I just said, but
yeah, you have a CLG Aftermoot jersey in your room.
it's off screen. It's off screen, Rob.
It's off screen. It doesn't count. If you can't see it, Twitch chat has object permanence issues, Mark. If they can't see it, it doesn't exist.
So, guys,
that game is already finished.
The important thing from that game is that TSM found a way to stop CLG in the early game. And how did they do it? How did they do it, Joshi?
The Janner's top, boy.
Yeah.
They just dodge. They just do not interact with Doklo whatsoever. They do not let Rosethorn go with any normal jungle pathing, and they come out with an early lead, and somehow that's how you got to do it. Just don't play their game.
Yeah, and not only was it the Smite top lane, but it was also hard early focus in the bottom lane to get a lead rolling there too, and things obviously worked out for TSM. I think this is actually a fantastic strategy against a team like CLG Academy. So, I'm going to introduce something to both of you for today's halftime show bit for this final day. We like to keep game shows rolling in for the final game of the day, just to up the energy a little bit. So I have a new one, a new game show, everybody. If we have music from production queued, now's the time to run it because we're going to play a game called Recall where I test your memory and boil down that last game to a singular call that was made from one of you during the game. No. Now, we're going to play the rules of you have 5 errors that you can make throughout this, but all you have to do is guess letters, and we're going to build it out together, okay? So we're going to go to full screen, and you're going to see the full phrase that we're going to spell out together, all right? So, this is what we're working towards. You're both on the same team together. Let's get this on full screen, one box right now, so that way you can see all of the letters.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters for the first word. Then 3, then 4, then 5. So, Rafa, let's have you go first. Guess a letter.
A.
You want to go for A. All right. I mean, I can't say I, judge you for that one. A makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of A's in most sentences. So let's start populating that. Okay, there's 1 A. There's 2 A's.
Bam.
There's 3 A's. 4,
that's a big A.
And 5 A's. Yeah, these aren't all uniform. It'll spell out. Don't worry about it. All right, that was a value one. That was a value one, Rafa. That means Yoshi's up next. What letter do you want to guess?
I'm going to see if we can get any freebies with the letter N.
N. Okay. Yeah. Okay, a freebie with the letter N. Let's see. N's not always that popular, but you're lucky this time. There is an N on there. There is an N on the board.
That's the only one?
That's the only one.
Oh my god. I thought for sure the second word was and.
I'm very positive the second word is R.
R. Okay, so you want to guess an R?
Yeah, well, yeah, we can guess R. But
okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I heard R, so we're throwing it up there. Is there an R? Not where you thought it was.
What?
Not where you thought it was, Rafa. But you still got it. So we've had no failures yet. We've had 3 successes, so Joshi, can you keep the streak running?
Let's see if we can go with it. I'm trying to come up with let's go with an E. That should narrow it down. We need a couple more vowels.
Yeah. Okay, you think some more vowels, you think the E might be the winner. Let's see if the E's populate. Absolutely. There is one, there is 2. 2 different E's, and now I'm getting tilted that they're not the right size. Because that E is just slightly bigger than the R and it's bothering me, but it's okay.
What the heck is the last word?
Rafa, you're up next.
L?
L. You think there could be an L. It's close to N in the alphabet. Let's see if it's up there. You guys are too good at this. I hate this. You haven't even gotten one wrong. If you just completely sweep this, I'm going to be a little upset. So, Joshi, please get one wrong here.
Let's go with a T. I think it's a T.
You think there's a T? Is there
I hope there's a T.
Is there a T? Could there possibly be a T? Now, unfortunately, I see production just put both of your pictures in the bottom right of the corner because this is the first error that is not actually on there. So we're going to throw up... I have a little emote here to signify that there's a that there was a missed one. But right now, y'all are covering it. It's just Cubby. There we go. Cubby wow face. So it's not T.
Cubby Pog.
Cubby Pog, everybody. No T.
What is the last word?
So it's not T. Lay. This is one full word on the top, right?
This is one full word on the top, 9 letters.
And it's a call that we made.
It was something that one of you said in game that summarizes the last game.
Oh. I know what the first word
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Wait, no,
You
I
guys
can't.
can
There's no.
help.
It's not an
Yeah,
N.
yeah,
It's not. Are you sure it's not lane swaps for the first word?
Yeah, I might have forgotten to click another one of the ends. You know what? I might have actually
What's
forgotten.
throwing me off? I was like, it's got to be lane swaps, right? Oh my god.
All right, that was on me. That one's on
Okay,
me.
okay.
You know what?
You're briefing us.
Just for that, I'm gonna take away the cubby because that was an
Okay. Lane swaps.
All right,
All right, so what do you want to guess
S,
next?
S,
Rafa?
S.
You want to go for S?
Yeah.
Of course, there's some S's on there. How could there not be S's?
Now, are you sure? Lane swaps, something, lane swaps, something.
I'm kind of stumped.
Oh well, let's get some free letters in there. We know it's swaps,
Okay.
so W.
Yeah.
Just put W up.
I'm just gonna add them for you at this point.
Thank
I mean,
you.
yeah, you got
Yeah,
it. It's
okay.
lane swaps.
Okay. Lane swaps. Any
But
other
it doesn't give
Ps?
you any other
No.
ones. Nope.
Damn
Nope.
it.
There's some
I'm
other
just trying to think of
letters
what
you
the
could be
last
guessing.
Yeah.
word could be.
Yeah. What's that second word? Like a.
It's not. It can't be.
Twitch
can't be
chat's probably
R, it
freaking
can't
out
be
right now. I
and.
guarantee you Twitch chat's gotten it already.
I'm sure Twitch chat has already. They remember what we say way
They also
better
have
than
a
we typically
collective
do.
consciousness, so it's not fair. This is putting the two of you on the spot, but
Lanes.
Lane swaps.
And it's not R.
So-
It's not all. It's not. There's no T because T was not on the board at all.
Trying to think. What did we say about lane swaps? Lane swaps. We talked about season
Yeah,
7.
season 4. We talked about
talked-
season
sorry,
4.
season
okay,
4.
okay. You know what? I've realized something. I've trolled again.
Oh
I
my
trolled again.
god!
I'm like,
Dang it.
lane swaps all over again. Lane swaps all over again.
There we go. All right. How confident? All right. So there might have been some minor trolling on the guy running the show right now.
That's you.
But this is what I get for thinking that I can host and run OBS at the same time, because clearly I do not have that abilities. But there we go. Lane swaps all over again, guys. That was it.
Woo!
That was
All
it.
right. I miss the Kangas Productions studios when we used to do the draft show that we always had at
Oh,
the end
yeah.
of every Proving Ground season,
I like
or
to
when we
keep you on
did
your
like the
toes.
caster showdown.
So lane swaps all over again. My trolling
There we go.
aside, that was essentially what we saw in that last game. TSM said, nope, we're not going to fight you top lane. We're going to leave Dokla alone and get around the map. So hope you guys had some fun. See, now I would say the Twitch chat probably got it. They probably were just as confused because I was in fact the one. I was the
It's
problem.
like, how are these guys not getting this?
All right.
Well,
let's start thinking
that was
about
good.
this
That was good.
From a critical perspective. When I looked at that draft, I saw that it worked from TSM because of something that Rafa actually identified at the end of Pick Ban. Renekton was picked early from CLG. They didn't have something like a Graves or a Trendemir, these champions that we have seen answered into those enchanters, because they over-indexed into that a little earlier on. I feel like CLG should be wiser to this time around. But Joshi, I'm curious your thoughts on that. What can Dokla do to say, okay, if they try that again, I have something else?
I think it's about hedging your bet at this position, right? You need to come up with something that has some scaling but isn't always committed to it, right? The typical champions that we see have a lot of success against this are things like the Graves or the Trindamere or the Jax, and all of these have reasonably good matchups. And I feel like if you're able to play any of them into the general champions that are currently played, you should be in a pretty decent position just because of how strong of a laner Dokla is. You shouldn't be really afraid to take these into anything Viper can throw at him right now.
Exactly. I feel like Dokla is a player. So we had this joke, right? Dokla's had this insane gold lead pretty much every game. This is his chance to make that like higher than his own team's gold lead. If he can have a performance right now on like something like a Tryndamere into an Enchanter top laner, he can actually just take over the game entirely by himself, something that he's already comfortable doing, and CLG is already able to play through. But I want to talk now more about TSM, Rafa, because this is big for them. They not only got a win last earlier against 100 Thieves, but they also now have gotten this win against CLG Academy. So is this a turnaround? Is this something that fans should be excited about? Like, hey, Shenyi's in now, and like it's actually working out.
I mean, I think a lot of the memes were around, oh my god, if Shenyi's in, the God shot calling is here. But maybe it is clearly, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, right? Well, apart from what Viper kind of let us know about how Shenyi is helping coordinate the team better. But it's so shocking to see the difference that one support change can make for this team. But I guess if this is the change that TSM have allowed to go through, because I know that based on what their public message was, this wasn't necessarily for the benefit of the Academy team, but for the benefit of Shenyi to play in a lower stakes environment.
And of course, we'll all be cheering for Yursan, who's now playing in LCS this weekend. As the Academy representative, it's always fun to see Academy players find success on the LCS stage, but Shenyi already finding success here as well. And I am hearing now, everybody, you can relax because we are finally ready for pick and ban. The teams have loaded in. So for one last time today, I'm going to pass it back to the two of you to take us away for pick and ban of game number 2.
Bye, Kangas.
I'm not saying bye because he trolled us on the game show.
I can't believe it, man. The L coming through, like that was so important when we were just like, what could this be, right? What 3-letter words to start with A could it possibly be? But we ended up getting it. It just took us a little while longer. And we do notice that TSM are remaining on the red side. And I do want to point out some fun or not so fun facts, depending on what kind of fan you are. At the beginning of the day, CLG were 15-5, and TSM were 5-15. Now they still have the same records mirrored, but there's a +1 for TSM in the wins category after that last game, and they can continue that. Well, the wins and the losses will still be mirrored, but hey, TSM taking 2 wins off of the team that has been dominating the first half of this split is absolutely massive. And Caitlyn coming through for CLG.
Ooh.
TSM choosing not to ban it away.
Yeah, they wanted to take away the Jarvan from Rosethorn, recognizing that despite the great game plan that TSM had going into game 1, there was a couple moments that Rosethorn almost turned around just because of Cataclysm was able to lock down key members from TSM. Denying that away from Rosethorn prevents him from having access to Cataclysm once again for engages, but it doesn't mean that CLG still don't have junglers that they can play to. Lee Sin was banned, but he can always still go to the Rek'Sai or the Volibear if he wants to.
True, he's got lots of options still available, and the Zed Hover would be very surprising to me if it did get locked in, especially blind. While this champion has been tearing it up in solo queue, it hasn't necessarily been nearly as popular in competitive play. And the Jinx coming through is a pick up against the
Viego's cool.
Caitlyn. Viego is cool. It's not something we've been seeing as much from Rosethorn, but definitely very good into the Xin Zhao. You kind of opt into a bit more of a trading, farming trade, right? You don't necessarily go for as much of a one-on-one, but we've also seen Rosethorn, we showed it in the video, he goes for crazy loop arounds where he has unexpected gank paths that a lot of people are not ready to deal with. And as we are going to be seeing Jinx Nautilus versus Caitlyn Lux, going to be a very volatile early bottom lane.
CLG, strong range and strong sieging potential with this duo, but it's also susceptible to ganks if it is overextended, and Rosethorn is not on the same side of the map to protect them from Hyper coming in to gank them and pretty much ruin their days, because you still have strong gank setup with something like a Nautilus. And CLG is still wary of a Viper Vayne counterpick in the top lane, but TSM still have options to lock down for both Takeover and Viper. Ahri has not been taken off the table by CLG, and it was something that Takeover looked pretty damn good on in that last game.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if it got banned away here, because both Takeover and Triple are having success with that so far. Now, I don't think that the Ahri was the problem last game, right? And so that's something that CLG can be looking at, it is like, the issue was not really the champions that we played against. The issue was our concept of how to play against this, and that's something that is more easily fixable regardless of the draft. And if Triple feels comfortable playing against it, seeing as they did choose to leave it up, he has to have some kind of counter pick up against the Ahri that a lot of people are still kind of struggling to figure out what they want.
I mean,
to play.
Triple very outwardly said, I've been playing Ahri almost more than any other player, and we were shocked that that was technically his first stage game in his competitive career because he had always been trying to push Ahri back into the meta. Victor, not necessarily the most exciting option coming out, but it will work. Standard control mage for CLG.
True. Makes a lot of sense. You have a very, very strong backline coming out from the side of CLG, but this is where they have to decide what they want to do. Are they going to try and pick a tank that is not going to do nearly as well into Enchantress top? Or are they going to give CLG's top laner something that has a bit more freedom to play the way they want to, like the Jace, but is going to mean that they have no frontline and do not control when fights start nearly as effectively as TSM?
I mean, CLG had to take this gamble, right? You either...
Yes.
Baby! Please
Yes,
lock it in.
give it to me.
That would be so sick. That would actually be so based. Yeah!
This champion... Look, I recently hit my cap. One of my friends said in order for me to play a champion on his team that is not above a 51% win rate of analytics, I have to have had at least 10 games played on that champion with at least a 50% win rate. I recently accomplished that. I won, I believe it is 9 of my 11 Jace games so far this season. This matchup is impossible.
Yeah.
You can't. There is not a lot that you can do here with 3 physical damage auto attackers coming through for CLG. Viper's Malphite is so incredibly effective. You get the early Warden's Mail, you get the Frozen Heart, you build more armor, and then you walk around and laugh as all the puny marksmen just try and hit you and fail.
Really, the only person that can stand toe-to-toe with Viper in a side lane is now going to be Triple on the Victor, because at least the magic damage will force Viper into a spot where he cannot hold the lane by himself. But against everyone else, against Jace, Viego, Caitlyn, he is going to be having a great time stacking up all the armor. And this draft spot that TSM put CLG in is all because of the conundrum they faced with game 1. The fact that they showed, like, hey, we are willing to play Enchanter tops if you don't put Dokal on something that is going to pressure our base. And CLG didn't want to take the flip against playing an Enchanter top lane, and they said, okay, you know what, whatever, you can get your counter pick into our Jace, but we're opting in for the split push. And then it's almost like a game of game of chicken. That's not what I was going for, but yeah, that's technically correct. I guess I was trying to think of, like, poker, like what is the hand that you're showing, right? It's like, and they have to make the first move so that TSM always have a chance to counteract with, their strategy of choice. At least for Prismal, he will be able to play the game, at least for the most part, because he doesn't have to deal with Viper roaming level 1 to his lane and making him have the most miserable experience.
True. We'll see how effectively they are able to play that out, though, as we are going to be loading onto the Rift momentarily. And the thing that feels so different to me about this TSM roster is, Viper's the kind of player who's very confident. That's a nice way of saying sometimes he can play with a bit of an ego, right? He's the guy who played so many marksmen last time around in order to create situations where he was always strong during the play. However, this is a draft that has basically no ego coming through, as Breezy trying to bait somebody to come out of the bush, right? Malphite is not an ego champion. This is the kind of thing when somebody is telling you, look, just play it. It's good. It's strong. We are playing here to win the game. And I wonder what has changed on the backside. Is that something that Shen Yi is doing? Is this a change of mindset coming in from Viper on his own? Is Gunaso having an impact on that? Maybe it's Peter Jong coming in and affecting their drafting decisions. I feel like there's a lot that has to have changed in the past week for TSM to be making this kind of drastic changes to their early game plans.
I mean, when you are the last one in the standings, I think there are serious conversations that must be had behind the scenes, and then TSM then say, okay, you know what? Obviously, we're developing, and we still have, some rookie players that are getting better in their own right. Holy, what? This is aggressive as hell. Shenyi just walks up slowly, down smashes first, flashing forward. What? I can't believe they just did that. They had no
what a
fear.
crazy.
They just said, yeah, we win this, dude. Bet. Like, let's all in. And TSM technically come out with first blood. Instinct goes down and Breezy trades a kill for it, but it's more gold over for TSM's Markson on the trade.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I wish bottom lanes would do a little bit more against these kind of things. And Shen Yi already showing why he is one of the supports that people were so excited about coming into the North American region. We take a look at it again, like, he just walks through the minions and just like, well, you cannot be there. I'm going to hit you and I'm going to kill you, right? It's not a Q start. It's not an E start. He starts with a W for the extra shield, meaning that he is impervious at the level 1 and also does a ton of extra on-hit damage with his auto attack. So it's just a super easy level 1, and as long as Instinct believes in him, Shen Yi is going to win that level 1 for them every time.
I'm so flabbergasted. That was just...
Yeah.
It was so funny to witness happen. But now TSM, this is a huge wave crashing. Thankfully for them, they already placed a ward in the river, so they know that Rosethorn is lingering around the river. Hyper is also in the vicinity, so no real dive threat would come through against TSM. CLG did burn both summoner spells. Rosethorn getting this invade against Hyper, has Smite available. I'm going to try to battle it out. Oh, Rosethorn does manage to win the Smite fight. Hyper trying to lock him down with the 3-talent strike. Hyper flashing away beautifully against the light binding. Prismal finds
the
a
reset!
kill on the Shen Yi.
The
with the
reset
reset from Rosethorn, but Takeover comes in, salvages a little bit of the situation, takes down Rosethorn as well, but now TSM, Takeover, and Instinct have to be on the run. Light binding lands from Breezy once again. Another auto attack should do him in. Takeover will fall, and Dokla also pulling off a dive successfully against Viper.
What? We are back on CLG track all of a sudden. I was just saying that this top lane pick is supposed to be impossible for the Jays, but Dokla finding the solo kill underneath Viper's turret. Rosethorn again coming out with an imaginative path, barely coming alive, and finding that reset. Dokla, I mean, I don't know how he got this guy so low, but great play coming through, and just being able to walk away out from under the turret is just a testament to how comfortable Dokla is playing up even against Viper's Malphite as Jays. Finding a solo kill.
TSM don't want to let go of the momentum reins right now. They want to fight back against the tempo that CLGA are attempting to build up. However,
no smite for Rosethorn.
Yeah, but Rosethorn now has friends, and Breezy and Prismal will ensure that none of the members of TSM can actually make that invade work out. And Triple, a decent freeze, keeps him in lane.
Yeah, that's one of the big things is you don't know what the summoner spell cooldown is for Smite in particular, right? Because it's got multiple charges. You don't know how many they had previously. So Rosethorn able to get away with that, and look at the leads that are already coming out for the side of CLG. Prismal will equalize on CS here momentarily after he cleans up this wave, but big lead coming up for Dokla in the top lane. Rosethorn already 3 camps ahead. Triple still pretty much even, but the fact that Prismal and Breezy have 4 kills between the two of them bottom lane just means it is so incredibly difficult for TSM to come back. We were looking at what was a 2,000 gold lead typically by the time you hit the 14-minute mark. They're already at that moment at 5 minutes into the game. But CLG, once they get a lead, do not let go.
CLG have brute forced their way into this point in the game through just sheer willpower. Talk about manifest destiny, man.
Not quite sure that's the same thing here, but it is okay. If everything is meant for you, Summoner's Rift is going to be all yours. Shen Yi still has Hyper down here in the corner. I'm going to try and help them out. I'm a little bit surprised that they aren't going for a play just quite yet, but Shen Yi is so willing to just like walk up and create pressure. You can tell just like the energy on this man is absolutely insane.
I don't think I've ever felt as intimidated looking at a support before, but Shen Yi carrying so much presence in that lane alone. However, because they suspected that Hyper was on the bottom side of the map and a huge wave is crashing, I'm going to attempt to dive Viper, but he has access to Unstoppable Force. No flash on Dokla, going for triple, but he flashes away, and it's just easy pickings for CLG. Hyper will attempt to clean this one up, but everyone from CLG gets out. Oh, Rosethorn almost falling down and take over with the roam over. We got action on the bottom side of the map as well. Instinct cleans up Breezy, and now in a 1v1 against Prismal. Has to back away, but I believe Takeover was able to clean up more, but Prismal dashing forward with the tilt over Caliber net does not find enough damage.
Okay, back and forth, back and forth. A great dive coming out from CLG, but it is matched incredibly well by Takeover, and this is one of the most bloody early games we've seen from either of these teams. But Dokla coming out ahead, right? And Prismal also coming out ahead. All of these kills currently going towards the people on CLG that they need to be. And the only place where TSM realized a big lead to play for so far is Takeover, but I love the way that Triple is ready for this, right? He takes a turret shot, and as soon as Viper identifies who it is he needs to go after, they are able to chunk him down and just leave. But they take so much damage, potentially going for a second dive against Hyper, that they are not ready for Takeover to come back in and clean the rest of the dive up.
2 kills do go over to Takeover in the response. So TSM not falling insanely behind, but you know, as we talked about before, this is the team that will just brute force their way in having these advantages within the first 14 minutes of the game. And so far, despite Dokla going down and giving some gold back over to Takeover, he is still massively ahead against Viper.
Shen Yi also going to be clearing out this ward as CLG going to be picking up this early Rift Herald for themselves. And if you can put Dokla so far ahead of Viper that the lane mismatch doesn't matter, it's going to be huge for CLG because Jace scales quite well, right? And Dokla, one of those players who has been able to create a lot of space for his team, kind of regardless of what it is he has been playing thus far. And TSM, I'm trying to think of how they come back from this position. And I think most of the pressure that I'm going to be paying attention to is going to be coming out from Takeover. The Ahri, who currently has 2 kills and an assist to their name, 4 stacks on the Dark Seal, and with the Electrocute, he's going to have an opportunity to pick off a lot of these members because there's no real tanks for CLG to hide behind.
You also have to look at Instinct, who not as ahead as Prismal is in terms of marksman v marksman, but can still find resets. You have a lot of burst damage that will come out from TSM, mainly from Takeover, and Viper can, even if he is disastrously behind Dokla in this top lane matchup, he still has Unstoppable Force, which is one of the best engagement tools that you have in the game. So reliable, so easy to execute on, that if any member from CLG does not have Flash, that is a guaranteed knockup and a person going down.
Yeah, I mean, again, because there is no tank, CLG are at risk of going down. So they have to be very, very careful throughout the next couple of minutes and throughout the rest of the game that they are safely creating pressure on the map. But Shen Yi coming top lane, this is a lot of tankiness. And notice that Viper just using those Qs to chunk Dokla down.
Lord just timed out. This is great timing from Shen Yi. Dokla, as soon as Shen Yi comes into vision, looks like Dokla backs away in time. We have Sir Skirmish onto the bottom side of the map. Takeover looking for Rosethorn, but Breezy, they just turn tails because Breezy's on the wrong side of the tracks, tries to flash away, but it goes down to Takeover. Gets one more Spirit Rush reset, but the rest of TSM have to bail. Rosethorn looking for one more bit of damage on a Hyper. Gets that alive. Triple zoning off Takeover from being able to join the rest of the members of his team on this bottom lane tower. But Brismo and Rosethorn don't find enough damage to take out any stragglers.
Did not see how Breezy got behind the turret there, but that was a bit of an awkward position coming through from CLG. I wonder if they're feeling the pressure right now with the fact that their composition doesn't have a lot of control later on in the game, because they're going for kind of desperate looking plays, right? It's not the control that we're used to seeing where they go for very high percentage opportunities every single time. They're constantly just looking to try and make stuff happen. Now they're trying to find Takeover.
They know that he doesn't have Spirit Rush, flashing away from the Chaos Storm. Will now give them a summoner advantage in the mid lane. CLG don't find the kill, but it's enough to force Takeover back.
Ace in the hole. No, not going out. Just a little bit of damage getting put down onto Shen Yi and Instinct. And Prismal and Breezy have not necessarily been able to get a whole lot of pressure down on this bottom lane turret. Viper comes mid lane.
And you know, there's a small window where Triple didn't still have Flash. Takeover didn't have Spirit Rush available, but, you know, Unstoppable Force into Charm might have been enough damage. The 4-man commit towards the bottom lane. Shen Yi is the only person here, and the Rift Herald spawning. This will be first break going over to CLG.
A lot of money finally going towards the members of Prismal and Breezy, and even Rosethorn as well. And opening this up will put Caitlyn ahead, right? You are noticing that already Jinx has picked up the Gale Force, and Prismal, sitting on a lot more money, should be able to get that and change as they back away. So one of the things that I was talking to Kelsey about yesterday was, we'll get to that in a sec. He is okay. All right. One of the things I was talking to you about Prismal yesterday was his ability to identify his targets and actually hit the right person is very good. But some of the times he's been having a little bit of an issue making sure that he doesn't put himself at risk while doing so. And so up against a team where you do not have a lot of control over when fights start and when you are playing up against an assassin like an Ari, that part of Prismal's game is really going to become incredibly important that he plays it right.
Oh, good God. Dokla doing so much damage to Viper as he's only really had a chance to buy steel-plated caps. No Warden's Mail can come out for the extra armor. Dokla can just chew right through it thanks to completing Eclipse this early on.
Yeah, lots of damage coming through, and Prismal and Breezy now going towards the top side. This teleport is brave.
It's okay. No unstoppable force. It's just 4 people coming from TSM. Might have been brave, but Instinct forced away as Dokla just goes for the all-in engage, but gets locked up long enough for TSM to go for the dive successfully, and they juggle the turret aggro flawlessly.
Yeah, that's why I said it was brave and not kind of crazy, right? Shen Yi in a bit of a tough spot here, but he will be able to hookshot his way out of that one. That was a situation where you don't know where people are. And when you go for that kind of play, like right before the dragon, you need to be careful that you don't give up a whole lot more. All the turret plates end up going down that would have gone down. But at the very least, Prismal is going to have a little bit of time and wisely going to be letting as many minions die to the structure before taking it as he possibly can. But that's actually going to be putting CLG just barely ahead of TSM once again as we now pay attention towards this upcoming dragon where CLG, now without teleports, not going to be able to move around as freely on this map.
And Unleashed teleports will be available starting at the 14-minute mark. Viper doesn't have his quite yet, but once that comes through, these flanks will be far more potential than a Jace flank. Because if you have Malphite in the right spot, then CLG's backline have to be fearing for their lives. But because neither of the TSM solo laners have that available, it is free dibs on the Dragon for CLG. And now we see it will be a Cloud Soul game. Once again.
Once again, there you go. A lot of movement speed. Movement speed is actually really helpful for CLG because you need to make sure you can kite out all of these different plays coming through. And as they are going to be shifting, we are seeing the lane swaps all over again as we send our bottom lane top lane and our top lane bottom lane. Potential skirmish breaking out around the Rift Herald here. And CLG, we'll see what they can do if the threat assessment of Prismal will be able to keep him alive because I don't think they really just want to walk at it head on.
Triple. Gotta be careful. Still has flash, so he can get out in case things get a little too dangerous. However,
awkward.
the chain CC from Shen Yi buys enough time for Takeover to shut him down. That's a numbers advantage for TSM and a Rift Herald gain. Final Spark. Nice attempt from Breezy. Doesn't secure or steal away the Rift Herald. And with Dokla committed towards the bottom side of the map, he's rotating on over, seeing if he could find a flank opportunity on TSM. It will be difficult. Can maybe only find some poke damage with this acceleration gate, but the Shock Blast is blocked by Shen Yi.
Doesn't even save the turret for very long, right? Whenever the Rift Herald does go down, it will be an opportunity for TSM to grab that. I saw something that is very reminiscent of my own play. Whenever you get like jumped on from Frog of War and there's like a moment because you weren't quite expecting it. We saw Triple kind of fumble with his buttons a little bit, but that's a forced error. Not super concerned about it overall. It's definitely a situation where CLG just need to be very aware of the fact that if they want to take any of these fights, they need to be there first. They cannot afford to come in too late, right? They cannot afford to let TSM have so much control that they don't have time to poke them down. And when you have a situation like that around the Rift Herald, CLG end up taking too much time in order to get there, and it's just a free objective for TSM.
You talked about it before. No real front line for any member of CLG. Everyone's very squishy, and you can build some bruiser items onto Rosethorn, but if he is your main front line, then you have to be the first ones to the objective so you can control these choke points, you can control the entrances, and be the ones that make TSM uncomfortable when they are entering into Fog of War. But if you're the last ones there, who's supposed to check these bushes for you? You can't send any...
Me.
You wanna play?
No, can I just be in call and let them know where they are?
I mean, you could.
I believe that's called cheating, but...
That's why I said you could, not should.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how they end up doing it, right? You do need to start seeing blue trinkets come out, and again, Shen Yi just creates such a presence on this map. Just his willingness to just say, "Yeah, I'm better. I will always go for these plays, and I dare you to try and stop me," makes it very difficult for CLG to move around. I'm so impressed.
And they are looking for the play onto Prismal. Super Mega Death Rocket. Viper follows up, gets the shutdown onto the marksman for CLG. Rift Herald not even needed for the crash to take down the mid-tier 1 turret. It will crash onto the second-tier turret. Triple and Breezy doing their best to fight back, but the Chaos Storm and Final Spark were already expended. The second-tier turret will fall. TSM still continuing their siege as Dokla is trying to even out on the bottom side of the map.
Well, at least he evens out the number of turrets, but the problem is they gave over a couple of kills on the backside. Triple does a lot of damage, but we're seeing the problem, right? There's no offensive crowd control coming out from CLG. They can't get things started whatsoever, so TSM can spend all the time they like setting up the perfect angles in order to get some of these fights going. And, oh my gosh. Takeover. Both.
That's pretty damn spicy. I like that. Takeover recalling, and Triple just wanted to be a nuisance to stop him from channeling fully, but Takeover, knowing well full, tried to see if he could bait Triple into a flash charm play, but Triple, and this is the guy that plays a ton of Ahri, so he was well aware of it, both expending both flashes. They're trying to make this siege trade happen with the Dragon coming up in 55 seconds.
And look at the damage just getting put onto Viper. There's just not a lot of it. And the crown coming out for Breezy as well, making sure that he can stay alive. Now, all the damage that CLG did manage to put down onto Takeover didn't amount to a whole lot, but we get to see a replay of our previous fight. And look at the fact that Viper just kind of walks through because he knows that nobody can really stop him. And the fight just evolves into chaos because CLG, they want to kite together, but when you're trying to defend a turret and it is unclear where you're supposed to be kiting, it devolves into a situation where TSM's composition is so easy and the veterancy of CLG is not enough to overcome it.
CLG are finding themselves in a point in the game where they've lost their gold lead, and now there's no members that can safely face check these bushes, as we have been slowly alluding to for the past 19 minutes of the game. Dokla is getting a lot of work done in opening up the map. Viper might be strong enough now to handle it in a 1v1, which is why Triple is here for insurance policy. And that forces Viper to flash, or not flash away, unstoppable force away.
I like the reaction, though, coming out from CLG. Triple, knowing that it's difficult, as you said, for Dokla to take these 1v1s at this point, but it's so difficult for Viper to go for a 2v2. Oh, does he have the damage?
Chad status from Dokla flashing on in, knowing he has the advantage, takes down Viper, and now this is going to force TSM's hand because someone has to stop Dokla from just splitting and opening up the base, but Dokla's looking for the collapse because they just found Shen Yi as well. Hyper finding Prismal on the backside, Final Spark comes through, but Instinct still falls. Hyper trying to fight all 4 members by himself. Takeover is here for reinforcement, Spirit Rush over the wall, finds the charm, but no! Triple dodges out. Beautiful stopwatch timing on the back end of that one. Hyper and Takeover cannot follow up on the play. Dokla and Triple coming up huge for CLG.
Dokla is so good at League of Legends, my dude. I cannot wait to take a look at the replay of that to show a couple of things that he does during that entire fight. But CLG taking matters into their own hands. They're the ones who actually start things up, and we'll take a look at this. So Dokla comes in a little bit late to this fight, so we'll take a look at how they trap Instinct on top, and we get both hits of Triple's laser to take down Jinx in just a moment, right? The extra bit of damage being enough. But the way that Dokla plays this is absolutely immaculate. First off, being able to dodge all the damage, but watch how he waits for Hyper's E to come through first to knock Xin Zhao away so that Xin Zhao cannot play the rest of the fight and is easy pickings. That is something that you cannot do unless you are thinking about the game super actively, and I am incredibly impressed that he had the wherewithal to do it in the last moment.
Super zoned in on the game and thinking about every single micro interaction that could occur in those blinking seconds. Great stuff from Dokla, trying to prove there's a reason why CLG have given him this Jace this game, despite a potential counterpick option coming out from TSM. He knows that he is the person that has to be the game changer because TSM are investing this Malphite pick to be a huge frontline and a reliable engage source against CLG, a team full of pretty much squishy members. There's not going to be a single tank or dedicated frontline member. And Shen Yi looking for a wraparound, wants to find the engage onto Dokla. Depth charge comes through, Instinct follows up with a zap, but no one else can get through. The multiple members of CLG. Final Spark, just a little bit of chip damage, pokes TSM away.
Lots of bits of damage going back and forth, and this is something that CLG's composition is incredible at. If you can prevent the other team from engaging onto you, you have so much poke to play with. That's the problem, right? It is so hard to prevent Nautilus Malphite from getting on top of you. So by creating enough space, CLG do a great job and pick up another turret. And the other thing, Mark, they do this Baron incredibly quickly.
Oh, it's nice. You don't have any tanks, but you have pretty much 5 carries. So you can melt through objectives pretty fast. And they might be able to do it before TSM get a chance to react, because they have no idea. They haven't shown any response whatsoever. Super Mega Death Rocket will give them vision. 6,000 HP on the Baron, still burning down. Hyper has flash if he can get in range. Breezy trying to do his best to body block. 1,800, can Hyper get in there? Viper looks for it, but the Unstoppable Force is a little too late, and now there's no engage potential from TSM. It has to be all on Shenyi and Takeover to find any stragglers. Viper flashes out. They pick up 2 on a Rosethorn and Brismal, another one on a Breezy as well, so it's only down to the solo laners of CLG once again, but the Baron buff has been secured.
Okay, taking that off the map is huge, preventing TSM from using that to pull you out of your base. We got another replay coming up right away. Great job from Breezy to get a lot of space. Unfortunately, Shenyi is just too good, man. Goes for the hook, and Prismal tries to buy some space, but makes the cardinal sin of dodging in a straight line and gets hit by the dredge line anyway. Shenyi finds the engage, and once you're in, CLG cannot leave.
TSM still making it competitive with CLG, despite a lot of great attempts from CLG to push TSM out and close out this game with a lot of the split push lead that Dokla has been able to net them throughout this game. This match is so close, Josh.
Yeah, and we also have to pay attention with the dragons coming through, right? The Cloud Dragon and the Cloud Soul is great for both these teams. Extra movement speed is super crucial towards getting that last bit of space between the other side. Viper misses!
Flash from Breezy is the award netted, but no more engage tool from Viper, and he already committed flash from the fight in the Baron pit earlier ago. He goes down without a hitch. TSM now on the run, and this dragon will be secured for CLG.
Okay, CLG gonna pick that up, but what do TSM do on the backswing, right? There's a lot of space for them to try and play around, and the waves pushed out for CLG are not in a great position. So CLG, I'm a bit surprised that Rosethorn is willing to move in this direction, but Breezy and Rosethorn trying to make sure that they control this choke point so that people can move forward, but they don't have Prismal. This is only 3 members of CLG.
TSM finally realized that there's no marksman to follow up. That's a beautiful charm for Takeover. Snipes out Breezy, takes him out. Ace in the hole, tries to force Takeover away, has to respect the fact that he's carrying a lot of Magi stacks, won't be able to participate, but CLG still have to worry about Instinct and Hyper, who are on the run right now. A nice trap from Prismal will keep himself alive as he distances himself away from Hyper, and TSM gonna have to be content with picking up 2.
But, I mean, 2 kills for basically nothing is great. The Dragon was going to go over to CLG no matter what. So, CLG, they're trying to safely create pressure, but it is so difficult. I wish I could listen in on their comms so I could understand, like, who's saying what, how are they trying to create pressure, you know, where do they think that they can safely do it? Because the core part of their composition, once you take one of these inhibitors, it is so easy to take another. Right, Dokla on his side lane, once he has the Cerelder's Grudge completed, should be way better at dealing with Viper than he is before the turrets actually go down and there's no Supermans to pull him around. But right now, CLG are desperately trying to play a game of pressure whenever TSM comes out in order to try and challenge one of the questions that CLG are posing. They just back away and let somebody else create pressure elsewhere. But it is such a desperate balancing act that you constantly have to do.
I feel like an unsung hero for TSM is definitely Takeover this game. He has 25 Magi stacks right now. He has so much damage potential. Shenyi finds an engage, a moment on to Rosethorn, but it's not enough damage. This Takeover wasn't quite ready in position to follow up on the play. Rosethorn thinking his lucky starts that he gets out, and the rest of TSM cannot find a counter response of any sort.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see both sides of it there, right? Whenever TSM tries to go in, they need to make sure that the engage sticks. You cannot just try and go for these one person while everybody else is able to create a concave around you. So 2 minutes until the next Baron is going to be spawning here, Mark. And TSM, their composition scales pretty decently, but it mostly just scales favorably, I'd say, in a lot of ways, going up against Instinct. And this Caitlyn, once it starts getting another item...
Instinct with the killer mindset. Gale forces forward and dodges out on the light binding, almost takes out Prismal, forcing him to Gale Force away, and Breezy gets routed off as a result.
Great play coming out from Instinct. He's normally this defensive player that we always pride in, but now he's the one making aggressive plays forward, gets the Gale Force out of Prismal, and this could be it. There's no ultimate from Viper, but they still have Shen Yi.
This is definitely an inhibitor being secured for TSM. Dokla and Triple were splitting on the opposite sides of the map. They had to recall to make sure that their base didn't fall apart. TSM now very happy with the fact that they were able to break open the base. This will give them so much pressure in leading up to the Baron in just a minute.
I just want to go back, Mark, and talk about the expectations that we had for this series. I jokingly said, okay, we might be looking at a speed run for the rest of the day because CLG were expected to dominate this matchup. And TSM are firing back. I actually, if I was on both sides of this map, I would prefer to play the TSM side, right? That is how close it is in a situation where we were not expecting these two teams to be close whatsoever. And I don't feel like CLG are necessarily playing poorly. They've just put themselves in a situation where it is difficult to execute on their composition.
Oh, this depth charge is going to be massive, landing onto Prismal. He's bought enough space to wave, but now he's not able to participate in the fight as TSM have all in, but the huge shutdown goes over to Triple. They take out Takeover, a majority of their damage. It has to be all on Instinct now to rocket through this fight. Viper still has Unstoppable Force, waiting out for Triple to flash out, but he gets stuck up. He doesn't even get into using Unstoppable Force. Triple fighting back with ferocity, and TSM have to be on the run. They have to be careful about how Triple plays out the rest of this fight. A flash forward from Breezy with the light binding, pairing up with Prismal's damage will keep TSM at bay.
CLG playing around Viper is absolutely incredible. The way they're able to keep him at bay, the way that Viper wasn't able to use his ultimate because he got stunned up and rooted up. He might be unstoppable, you still gotta start the ultimate in the first place. CLG now trying to pick up this Baron, and I don't think there's a contest coming through from TSM, but we also have a Dragon coming up in 30 seconds as Breezy using the last bit of his tankiness in order to try and keep this down. But look at this teleport coming through. Who is it coming from? It's Takeover, trying to make sure that nobody from CLG can even walk over to the Dragon.
He's setting himself up for a pick. Another teleport coming in for Viper. Rosethorn is in the mid lane.
They know this one.
Do they know?
They definitely were aware of the second teleport, right? I don't know if they know that Takeover's here, but they definitely know that somebody is going to be in these brushes, and TSM going to be able to claim their prize. Here is Viper. Viper's struggling, man. Viper is having a tough game, down 3 levels up against Dokla's Jace.
TSM will take their prize as this third Dragon comes through. CLG trying to expedite the mid lane process of pushing in this wave. Takeover goes on the aggressive, finds the charm onto Rosethorn. No way out. The Heartbreaker doesn't come through fast enough. TSM now have a numbers advantage, and this base is exposed through the mid lane.
The problem is there's nobody who's a great side laner coming out from CLG. They can't actually deal with anything because the rest of their four is just going to get engaged on. Nobody can push out. But now, CLG, I mean, when they bring their poke to bear, this is very, very scary. But there's no tools that were really used up by TSM. It was only Takeover's ultimate, so they still have Shen Yi, they still have Viper, and Dokla and the rest of CLG just have to slowly line up. And as you said, Triple, bit of an unspoken hero. I feel like every single person so far on both teams has kind of had a moment where they looked really good because of how chaotic this game is.
Yeah, the way that Triple navigated out of that, the last fight that we saw, I thought he was dead. Coming out of the stopwatch, it's like, okay, as Viper, I have Unstoppable Force, and he already flashed. There's no way that he gets out of it alive, but the CC combo catching all of us off guard. Triple just explodes him. Because you have to remember that there's not that much magic resist coming from Viper, as he not only is lower econ than Dokla is, thanks to all the gold that he was able to funnel into himself and all the pressure they got into him for the early part of the game. And most of that gold went into armor. So yes, against Prismal, Rosler, and Dokla, he can sustain a little bit, but against someone like Triple, who has a lot of magic penetration and a death cap at this point, oh man, he is shattering this rock.
Dokla now looking to try and beat up the Fox a little bit. The Baron buff is going to be disappearing, but so might Hyper.
Thankfully, he is tanky and pops the Crescent Guard just to make sure no further damage will come through, but has to recall, go back to the fountain, and sustain on up. CLG taking this moment to evaporate the wave as fast as possible. Need to get some damage onto the inhibitor tower structures. Need to be able to equalize the base pressure that TSM were able to get through the mid lane. They don't find it quite yet, though.
And that's the last wave of the Baron buff. This is going to be it. 10 seconds left before it disappears, and 3 minutes before another objective comes out. But CLG have clawed their way to a gold lead. But as we keep talking about, TSM, they're in it, and they're in it to win it, right? They are looking for a way to close out this game. And as they get tankier and tankier, there's so much sustain being built up by the members of TSM, right? You have a Death Stance, you have Bloodthirster already coming through. And then, of course, Ahri just has it built into their kit. So I'm curious where this game is going to break. As it gets later, games become much more 50-50 because it takes less and less for a game-losing mistake to actually occur. But CLG, when they're split up like this, it makes me a little bit anxious, I have to admit, because there's not a great way for any individual member to survive if they get caught.
So much crowd control from TSM, right? And all these members of CLG, they've built some resistances like Zhonya's Hourglass and GA, but they're still not tanks. They're not frontline members, and so they will not last long enough if the crowd control chain is fully committed onto any one of these members of CLG. And TSM have taken enough time to completely shroud this top half of the map away from CLG. They have to play carefully in wrestling for control of vision once again.
With less than 2 minutes before both major objectives, there's Cloud Soul available to TSM. There is Baron spawning in 1:40. CLG. I'm curious, right? Prismal, one of the players that we've highlighted for CLG as being this big leader who's, again, very good at determining who he needs to hit, but not always being the careful that he needs to prevent getting hit by. It's going to be in a spot where he has to be rallying the troops. It's kind of like the calm voice that we know he's often been for so many of his teams before. But in these kind of tense situations, I have to imagine even he's starting to get shook just because of how close everything is and how tight the entire game has become. In CLG, start seeing them move around, but they have to check every single brush they walk towards to make sure that there's not a member of TSM there, because if there ever is, and they're ever wrong as they face check a bush, they're in an awful position because they will be down an entire
There's
member.
just really only reliancy on their summoner spells to save them if things go awry for CLG.
And they're all up.
Thankfully for them, right?
So with all the flashes up and CLG in prime position, looks like TSM are going to be giving over this Cloud Dragon, which is not the end of the world, right? It is going to be a little bit of movement speed, but you are still equal between the two teams. But Teleport coming through. They're looking for a flank with Malphite.
And Viper, I don't think he's been seen quite yet, trying to keep himself in Fog of War so that CLG will step up unknowingly. Keeps himself in this bush. They have to pressure for the Baron and force CLG to walk into them, and depending on how Viper shows himself, which target he picks, a control ward doesn't see out Viper. They're taking the long way around. They're trying to use the control ward to see if Viper would be coming from the left side of this jungle. They have to be certain that there is someone looking for the flank. 7,000 HP on the Baron.
Oh, Shen Yi
caught out. He flashes into the wall.
Flash.
Jokla's already taken out one member with the power to engage. 4,000 HP on the Baron. CLG circling on the other side of the map. Roadstone goes in. Hyper will secure the Baron, but now they have to get out.
Do they get out? Watch Triple.
Triple looking for it, but he stops.
The Zhonyas!
The Zhonya stops the Viper engage from coming through. CLG, in the most difficult situation of this game, are going to be able to win the flip. They find a takeover and instinct. Not a single member from CLG drops, and they will close out this game.
CLG will not be denied this game, Mark. They have fought tooth and nail. They put themselves in such an awkward position, but this is the strength of CLG, coming out and winning in a grueling, super complicated game. They're able to make all the right decisions at the end, and the person we held up as the shock horror at the very end, Shen Yi, they're the one they find out and take him down, and the last member of TSM falls right in front of the doors to the Nexus, and CLG go 1-1 with TSM at the end of the day. What a great way to end a Friday night.
Damn.
Okay, this is rude.
I mean, if I'm CLG in that position where you had to play probably one of the most stressful games ever with your composition that late into the game, you have to dodge out and avoid 2 guaranteed ways to engage as TSM. You have Depth Charge you have to worry about, and you have Unstoppable Force to worry about. They isolate Shenyi, Dokla being able to find Shenyi all alone and forcing him into flash into the wall. That was one way that they denied it, and the TSM still had the Unstoppable Force and Triple baiting it out beautifully with the Zhonya's Hourglass, and that just means there's no way that TSM can now fight back against the threat overload composition that CLG essentially all in with this draft. And we know that the expectations were high for CLG to begin with, but remind everyone at home, Josh, which composition you would rather play with by that stage in the game.
I'm just saying, like, I think Blue's composition, CLG's composition was better, but it is so hard to execute on, right? You have to all be playing incredibly well. I wanted to be TSM. I would have preferred just like, yeah, we have an obvious go button. I'm expecting them to make a mistake first, and once we get that engage going, it's easy lights out because you just run down everybody one by one. So CLG, props to them for maintaining the resiliency. Props to them for staying on for such a long period of time. And my God, man, Triple and Dokla this game were absolute monsters.
They performed higher than expectations that we
had.
Were
high.
And yeah, our expectations already high, and somehow the solo laners to CLG still managed to exceed them in many ways that we just did not foresee coming. And of course, for us, we have to take a moment to breathe, but we are still not done with our show because Kangas will be returning after this break with a victorious interview with CLG Academy.
On something growing up, I dreamed just nothing. Ooh, what are you? People talk loud, I get what they're telling me. I fucked up, I didn't care of it. Ooh, what did you? Hey, I gotta say, something's going wrong. And everything's upside down. I'm falling. Hey, tired of this. What a truth. No one talk now. I'm feeling lost on it. Silence is loud. I get it safe from it.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, for our post-series interview, and what a series that was. We have CLG Academy support Breezy with us here. Thank you, Breezy, for taking some time after the victory to come and chat with us, but what a stressful victory that was. That last game could have gone either way, same with the first one. So I have to ask, that game came down to that last Baron fight. Did you know where Viper was on the Malphite going into that Baron pit?
Sorry, can you say it one more time?
Did you know where the Malphite was? Because
We did
Viper
not.
had TP'd
Yeah,
into your top jungle and was hiding behind you the whole time.
Okay, yeah, we saw the TP, so we were commenting that we saw TP, and we didn't know exactly where he was, but we felt pretty safe checking with Blue Orbs and Luxies, but we didn't know exactly where he was. We knew he was in the area, though.
Okay, because
yeah,
you approached the perfect way, though, because you went through mid lane and then almost like behind Baron in a way, and then you were able to catch out Shenyi. So that's cool to hear that you at least called that the teleport was there, so you knew roughly where he was.
Yeah.
But obviously, Viper throwing you for a loop a little bit, not playing traditional Viper champions with the Malphite game 2 and the Enchanter Smite top lane in game 1. So what was the plan going into game 2 after seeing what TSM brought in that first game?
Well, I guess both our series this week, both teams were super bot-centric. We didn't expect TSM Academy to be really bot-centered for the series, but I guess with the sub-support, they were trying things out, so we adapted pretty well after game 1. We knew how they were going to play. After we saw Malphite, we knew exactly that they're just going to keep fighting bot lane, so we adapted pretty well.
Yeah, tough start to the game, I would say. I believe the caster shot call from Rafa was, did Shenyi really just walk up and down smash at that level 1? Did that make you worried at all based on how that game started off, or did you have an idea of how to get back?
No, I wasn't too worried. I mean, we traded 1-for-1, and they used all their sums, so it wasn't the worst. And then we were able to get them the next time, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay, cool. Well, CLG overall seem to be the raid bosses of Academy right now. Still at the top of the standings after this 1-1 performance. Golden Guardians still 2 games behind you all right now. But you did go 2-2 this week, dropping a game to Immortals and now dropping a game to TSM. We've gotten used to seeing CLG win, so what do you think the difference was this week?
I mean, we have a lot to work on. Like I said, both teams are super bot-centered. Felt like so we have a lot to work on, especially in bot lane. We learned a lot this week, and I don't know, we're pretty excited to have a week like this. Honestly, it's a good learning lesson. You can take a lot out of it. But we're
absolutely
pretty confident.
And that's always the focus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, bringing the conversation back to the whole team right now. Still 2-2. Is the focus going forward into next week now still bot lane focus, or kind of give me an insight into what it's been working with Coach Juves on the back end? Because it seems like there's been a lot of success with CLG. So is this success coming from just the experience of the team, or what do you think the magic sauce is right now?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. We've got a lot of good vibes. Coaches are good, putting a lot of effort. We're getting, I think our scrims, we're getting a lot of good information out of it, win or lose, and we're just taking a lot of, and everyone's grinding really hard, and especially in Champions Queue too. I think we're all just playing like 24/7, and we're just grinding hard.
What are scrims like for you? Are you the type of team that just goes all in, just like crazy deep on scrims and feast or famine, or do you take them a little more slow and casual?
A little bit of both. We test the waters for sure, and yeah, we know we have stuff to improve on, but it's we're good.
Okay, well, Breezy, I do want to say that after that victory, every single team got a tie today. And now, not everyone on the broadcast has agreed to this, but I do speak for us all in saying that if we ever had a day of all ties, we would all wear ties the next broadcast. So I'm going to give you the choice to choose what my tie will be.
What an honor. What an honor.
Broadcast. I have a pink tie. I have an orange, kind of crisscross tie, or I have a bluish tie with red flowers on it. What do I go with?
I like the pink tie. Go with the pink tie.
You like the pink tie?
Yes,
I
sir.
like it. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Breezy. Any final words for any of the fans out there?
Thanks for supporting us, and hope we can stay top of the standings. Thank you.
Best of luck in that endeavor going into next week's games. Thank you so much, Breezy.
Thank you.
All right, and with that said, we're going to bring back on the casters to close out the day. Joshi's already.
I was told
he's already got
5
his
ties. What's going on here?
All right, here. Let me ask one of you a question so I can start putting
missed the
my tie
memo.
on.
Whoops.
Rafa,
Yeah, I was told to
missed
put
the
on
memo.
5
I had
to
ties.
let out my
Mark has
dog, I'm
0.
sorry.
Kangas doesn't even have one. What is
I'm
this?
getting mine on. Don't worry, don't worry. Rafa, thoughts on the day?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not committed to the bit like y'all are, but every team won today, which is sick. I love getting to see development and progression from all the academy teams because that is the purpose of the Academy League. It's not about results, it's about progress.
Exactly. It's about progress. It's about developing. That's what Breezy was talking about, too. Still a lot to work on from them. But let's take a look at what was happening across the Rifts today, because there were a lot of games that happened, and obviously ties across the board. Any big surprises, Joshi, from your eyes? Anyone that you were like, I was sure that they were going to 2-0, other than CLG, TSM, because that one's too fresh?
You're taking the obvious answer away from me. That's the one that I think everybody was looking at.
Man, I got to gank you one more time here.
The other one that is surprising to me is definitely 100 Thieves versus Cloud9, because these are two teams that are both towards the top of the standings, but I was absolutely expecting Cloud9 to go into that one as a pretty clear favorite because they've been on the upswing, whereas 100 Thieves have been struggling a little bit more recently, and I was expecting Cloud9 to just continue skyrocketing towards the top, and so the fact that 100 Thieves coming back with another victory, I mean, I guess it has to be the Cubby casting, right? He's still got the highest win percentage for that time, but I just realized, Dimitri, Alk Battery, you're all going to call me out on this. I was the last caster at 100% win rate with CLG, and for any team, it is now ruined. Nobody has the honor of having a complete undefeated streak with any team.
Well, hey, that just means that we're unbiased, right, everybody? But let's take a look at the updated standings now, because that means that, again, we're already a week into the second round robin. We're really starting to solidify these current standings here. CLG up there in first. And it looks like I was actually wrong. I thought that they were 2 games ahead of Golden Guardians. They're only 1 game ahead of Golden Guardians right now.
It was almost potential for to be tied with Golden Guardians had Evil Geniuses not played spoiler to GG. And that was going to be my pick because I mean, Golden Guardians have been playing incredibly clean League of Legends for the past few weeks now. But the fact that Evil Geniuses split with them, I'm now excited to go back and watch the VOD to see, because Evil Geniuses, they have potential, but they've been struggling with consistency, right? And so that it's a nice thing for Evil Geniuses fans to still see their squad put up, a win against one of the top teams in the league right now.
Yeah, exactly. And the big thing is that we still don't have a massive gap between what would be the top 6, which auto qualifies you for Proving Grounds, and the bottom 4, which have to play through the Proving Grounds open qualifiers. Even TSM, they're 1 good week away from breaking in. All they need to do is have a 4-0 and then have one of those teams have an 0-4, and then they can actually...
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, of course, but still, like, theoretically, all teams are still in that competition for the top 6. But let's take a look at those games that are coming up next to see how easy that will be for the teams at the bottom to actually tackle. Because we have more action next week, everybody. We're already into week 6. I cannot believe it. But Team Liquid CLG, Joshi, to start off the day.
There you go.
Ooh,
we got some
that's
bangers
exciting.
next week, right? Cloud9, TSM. If TSM can take a game off of CLG, they can take a game off of anybody, right? TSM, TL, CLG, and then, of course, Immortals, 100 Thieves. Again, like, with the amount of progress that we're seeing from our bottom half of the league over the past couple of weeks, I'm starting to feel like all the favorites that we've started to build up over the course of the season can kind of get thrown out.
Yeah, honestly, anybody can beat anybody. That's what we're learning. And that's pretty standard in the Academy League as well, so no surprises. But let's take a look at the games that will happen on twitch.tv/FaceItTV. Obviously, this is the Academy one. And make sure to follow both channels so you don't miss out on the action. But Rafa, EG versus Dignitas, Golden Guardians versus FlyQuest.
Once again, we have the first series obviously can be really close. They split last time these two teams faced off against each other in Evil Geniuses and Dignitas. But the Golden Guardians of FlyQuest is another chance for FlyQuest to benchmark themselves, right? Because they've already traded a game against some of the top teams already. The Golden Guardians is another way for them to prove, okay, are we developing well? I think FlyQuest were one of the teams that took down 100 Thieves early on in the season as well. Like, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment right now there. Next one, Golden Guardians for them.
Golden Guardians, they were on a 3-series 2-0 streak up until today where Evil Geniuses gave them a loss. Yeah, FlyQuest, they could have an opportunity to pounce here. But everybody, that does it for Week 5 broadcast for LCS Academy. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. Thank you to my casters, especially for putting up with me apparently not knowing what an L is. It's because, obviously, I've never experienced one. Thank you to everybody behind the scenes in production for keeping the gears going. Thank you to everybody in Twitch chat for being so active today. It was awesome. The Sheddy supporters are insane. The copy pastas were rolling, but a big special thank you to all the players because they're the ones that give us a show to even talk about. We'll be back Wednesday. I practiced it. I double-checked it. It is Wednesday next week that we do have Academy returning, so make sure that you set your alarm, and we'll see you there.